I was reincarnated as the kid brother of the female lead in one of those dark romance novels. The kind where sweet is just a euphemism for Stockholm Syndrome. In the original script, our whole family was slated for an early grave. To stay alive, I decided I was going to have to beat the plot into submission. Dad goes gambling? I'll beat the hell out of Dad. Mom and Grandma play favorites? I'll beat the hell out of Dad. They try to sell my sister to some old creep? I'll beat the hell out of Dad. They say, spare the rod, spoil the child. Well, if a rod can beat a kid into shape, it can sure as hell beat a deadbeat father, a neglectful mother, and a doting grandmother in a line, too. As long as I wasn't afraid to get my hands dirty, I could make them the most well-behaved family on the block. The original plot, when my sister, Chloe, turns 20, she gets locked in a basement by a psycho CEO. To win her over, the maniac murders our entire family. Years later, I've successfully rewritten our story. Chloe is a high-powered executive now, and she just offered me a job as her company's head of security. I just have to say, in my last life, I was basically royalty in a Grubhub t-shirt delivering food. This time around, I'm finally living up to my name. Leo the Lion, protector of the pride. 1. The moment I woke up, I knew I'd been ice-skied. I was dropped into a dark romance novel. The romance was a lie. The imprisonment was the real deal. My sister, Chloe, was the main character. At 20, she was fated to be locked in a billionaire psycho's basement. And to prove his love, that psycho would slaughter our entire family. Our family was a collection of cliches. My dad, Rick, a gambling addict. My mom, Brenda, and Grandma June were classic misogynists, obsessed with me, their precious boy Leo, the one who would carry on the family name. They treated their daughter like dirt and their son like a prince. And my sister, Chloe, was the quintessential damsel in distress, destined for a dark room and a twisted captor. I'm Leo. Taking a deep breath, I knew the script had to change. The only question was how. Here's the thing about me. I have a personality flaw. I'm a simple guy. What I lack in brains, I make up for with brute force. My approach to life is direct. In my last life, when I wanted to live in a mansion, I applied to be a janitor there. When I wanted to drive a Maserati, I got a job as a chauffeur. When I wanted to be a president, I legally changed my first name to President. Whatever I wanted, I became. No learning curve, no process. It was all about, I want it, I get it right now. So, instead of waiting around for some psycho CEO to wipe out my family, I decided to go on the offense. They say, spare the rod, spoil the child. By that logic, you could probably beat a man into becoming a good father, a woman into a good mother, and an old lady into a sweet grandma. So now, here I am, walking out of my room with a rolling pin in my hand. The only question is, who gets it first? 2. I'd barely stepped outside when I heard a commotion in the yard. My dad was home. A wiry, middle-aged man was stomping toward the house, his face a mask of frustration. You could tell he'd lost all his money again. He looked so pissed off he'd probably kick a stray dog just for crossing his path. My mom and grandma were trailing behind him, already bickering. I told you not to let him go, but you just had to, my mom shrieked. What's wrong with him going? He's my son. Grandma June shot back, her voice booming. He was trying to win big for the family. Win big, my ass. He took the last of our cash. It's my son's money. He can take it if I say he can. Listening from the doorway, I had a chuckle. This family's atmosphere was a special kind of toxic. My dad stormed into the yard where my sister was crouched by the spigot, washing clothes in a bucket. She glanced up at him and instinctively flinched. He walked over and kicked the bucket, sending soapy water everywhere. Washing these stupid clothes, making a mess. Water is money. You're letting all the money run out. You're nothing but bad luck. My grip on the rolling pin tightened. Dad, he turned. Seeing the rolling pin in my hand, he paused. What are you doing? Just a question for you. I walked right up to him, looking up at his face. You went gambling again today? His brow furrowed. Since when does a little punk like you get to question your old man? Get lost. How much did you lose? He raised his hand to slap me. I was ready. I swung the rolling pin in a wide arc and cracked it right against his kneecap. AGH, my dad howled, hopping on one foot. Are you out of your damn mind? I swung again, this time catching him on a shin. He crumpled to the ground, staring at me in disbelief. You hit me? I'm your father. And you know you're my father? I brought the pin down on his back. My father, who's supposed to be providing for his family, is out blowing our money on poker? You want us all to starve? My mom rushed in from outside and grabbed my arm. Leo, what are you doing? That's your father. Let go, I said, looking her dead in the eye. My stare must have scared her, but she didn't loosen her grip. Grandma June scurried over, plopped down on the ground, and started wailing. Oh, the humanity. This is a sin. My grandson is beating his own father. The heavens are blind. I watched her little performance for a second, then slammed the end of the rolling pin into the dirt. Grandma, you make one more sound, and you're next. Her wailing stopped abruptly, like a chicken getting its neck wrung. My mom took the chance to pull me away. Have you lost your mind? That's your dad. You can't hit him. And why not? I shook her off and slung the rolling pin over my shoulder. I'm Leo, the golden child. All three of them just stared at me. What does that mean? To carry on the family name, be the hope for the future, I said, enunciating every word. I'm a star of the show around here. If I want to hit someone, what's the big deal? I'll hit whoever I want. My dad scrambled to his feet, leaning against the wall. You little bastard. I pointed the rolling pin at him. You old geezer, shut your mouth. You're out losing money while I'm at home eating thin oatmeal. You call this a life? His face turned beet red. He tried to lunge at me, but my grandma grabbed him. Ricky, no, you can't hit him. She pleaded, practically on her knees. He's our only one, the only boy in 3 generations. If you hurt him, the family line ends. My mom snapped out of it and jumped in front of me. That's right, you can't. Leo is the most precious thing we have. I had to laugh. A minute ago, these two were crying about what a disrespectful monster I was. The second I'm in danger, they're my biggest offenders. So, in their eyes, my dad is the son and I'm the grandson, but the grandson is more valuable than the son because he can keep the family name going. The logic was twisted, but it was airtight. Held back by the two women, my dad struggled, trembling with rage. Are you two senile? He hit me. He hit his own father. Grandma wiped her tears. Ricky, just bear with it. He's just a boy, only 10 years old. How hard can he even hit? My mom chimed in. Yeah, you're the father. You can't stoop to his level. He's just showing his affection. You know, tough love. I almost burst out laughing. My dad's eyes looked like they were about to pop out of his head. Affection? He came at me with a rolling pin. It's educational love, I declared, planting the rolling pin on the ground. You're always telling Chloe to spare the rod, spoil the child. Well, today I'm educating you, so you don't go down the wrong path. My dad was speechless. So was my grandma. My mom muttered under her breath. I don't think that's how the saying goes. 3. I didn't have time for a grammar lesson. I took 2 steps toward my dad, rolling pin in hand. He scrambled backward, tripped over the doorstep, and fell flat on his butt. I looked down at him. How much did you lose today? His lips trembled, but he stayed silent. I raised the rolling pin. $300. He blurted out. I lowered the pin and crouched in front of him. Dad, let me do the math for you. What's our family's income? Between farming and your odd jobs, we clear maybe $3,000 a month tops. You lose $300 today, $500 tomorrow. How am I supposed to get married in the future? You're always saying I'm the hope of this family, that everything you have is for me, right? He didn't answer. Grandma and Mom nodded vigorously. Well, if that's the case, then the money you're losing is my money. So I'm officially announcing that from this day forward, Rick Grant, if you ever go out gambling again, I will beat you every single time I see you. I stood up and dusted off my knees. If you clean up your act, this family can still make it. But if you're determined to ruin us, I shoved the end of the rolling pin in his face. Then I'll have to disown you. Violently. My dad, hearing this, grabbed a nearby stick, ready to try and reclaim his fatherly authority. Grandma quickly stopped him, whispering, just play along with him. Leo's just a kid trying to act like a grown-up. Wait till he's at school, then you can do what you want. Don't get into it with him now. My mom nodded in agreement. But my dad was too furious to listen. This little brat has gone too far. Today, I'm going to show you who's boss. I wasn't scared at all. Then you might as well kill me. If you kill me, you can go back to praying to every god you can think of for another son. If it wasn't for me, the Grant family name would have died with you. Grandma was one step away from getting on her knees and begging my dad to stop. So was my mom, for that matter. The air grew cold. After a long silence, he was the one who backed down. With a cold snort, He went back inside. For just then, a soft noise came from the corner of the yard. I turned and saw my sister, still crouched by the spigot, clutching a wet shirt. She was staring at me like I was an alien that had just landed. She was 12, 2 years older than me, skinny as a rail, with a sallow complexion, but you could already see the delicate features in her face. Hearing the noise, my mom redirected all her frustration onto Chloe. She grabbed a piece of firewood and swung it at her head. "You useless girl. You think this is a joke? What are you staring at? Go start the fire for dinner. You want us all to starve? What good are you, you little freeloader?" The stick was about to crack across Chloe's face. I moved fast, shoving my mom out of the way and shielding my sister with my body. My mom stumbled back, looking completely bewildered. "Leo, why did you push me? She's my sidekick. Nobody touches her." I put my hands on my hips and yelled. I was watching Sons of Anarchy the other day, and Jax Teller always protect his crew. So, you are not allowed to hit her. If you hit her and she gets hurt, how am I supposed to keep my rep at school? Chloe hid behind me, her big, watery eyes blinking in confusion. She probably never imagined that her little brother, whose main source of fun was tormenting her, would suddenly step up to protect her. It didn't matter. She'd get used to it. 5. That beatdown kept my dad in line for 3 days. On the 4th day, he snuck out to gamble while I was at school. I was waiting for him at the door when he got back that night. When he saw the rolling pin and a kitchen knife in my hands, his legs went weak and he nearly fell to his knees. "Leo, what are you doing with a knife? A kid like you can't be playing with that stuff. Besides, I only played one hand." "One hand?" I waved the pin and the knife at him. "How much did you lose?" $50. That's still money." I cracked the rolling pin against his leg. "I thought we agreed you were done gambling." He yelped and tried to run into the house, but I chased him around the yard. My mom and grandma came out to intervene, but one glare from me sent them scurrying back inside. That night, my dad slept on his stomach. He was still limping the next day. When the neighbors asked, he mumbled something about falling down. It happened a few more times. My dad would sneak out, and I'd be waiting with a knife. Maybe I'd just stand over his bed with it in the middle of the night, or first thing in the morning. After a month, he stopped going out to gamble altogether. In his own words, "My son isn't bluffing with that thing. He'd actually use it. I'm scared of him." 6. Ever since I took over, the whole vibe of the house changed. It used to be my dad's one-man show. Now it was mine. My dad started leaving early and coming home late, working hard on the small plot of land we had and taking odd jobs. Every penny he earned, he gave to Chloe. Yeah, because Chloe was now the most educated person in the house. Even though she was only in the 6th grade. Chloe wasn't used to it first. She kept thinking it was some kind of trap. She'd refuse the money, but I insisted, and she became the family accountant. A little kid, already managing the household finances. Because of that, her status in the family wasn't so low anymore. But she knew she only had this power because of me. The first thing she did every morning was check my mood. If I asked for anything, she'd scurry off to do it, terrified I might snap. "Chloe, is your homework done?" "Why, yes, it's done." "Let me see." She nervously handed me her notebook. I flipped through it. The handwriting was neat and tidy. The 6th grade curriculum was already beyond what my adult brain could comprehend. "All right, from now on, you're in charge of my homework too." She froze. You're my big sister, right? It's a sister's sacred duty to do her little brother's homework." I slapped my own notebook down in front of her. "Make the handwriting look like mine. Don't let the teacher figure it out." She held the 2 notebooks, a complicated look on her face. I patted her shoulder. "Do a good job, and if anyone messes with you, I'll take care of it." She was quiet for a moment, then asked softly, "Aren't you going to study?" "My teacher says that for poor kids, education is the only way out. I'm not cut out for it." She tried to persuade me. "How do you know if you don't try? The world needs people to be security guards, janitors, construction workers, farmers. Not everyone can have a cushy office job." She just looked more confused. That confusion lasted for about a semester. At the end of term exams, I got a 10 in English and an 18 in math. My combined score was lower than my dad's shoe size. The teacher called me out in front of the whole class, announcing I was dead last. I just grinned. Chloe, sitting next to me, went pale. "Leo, with grades like these, maybe I could tutor you? I mean, I'm first in our class." I shook my head. "Chloe, you just worry about yourself. When you're at the top, the only way to go is down. For me, the only way to go is up. Chloe was speechless. I was smart enough to get better grades in fourth grade if I wanted to, but I knew I wasn't the academic type. Even if I did well for a little while, it wouldn't last. Better to just crush any hope from the start. Besides, Chloe was the main character. She wasn't dumb. Her grades were great. I couldn't let her lose her chance to study. On the way home, she kept her head down. "What's on your mind?" I asked, kicking a rock on the path. "You've been quiet this whole time." "Leo, you did that on purpose, didn't you? You failed those tests on purpose. You can always calculate exactly how much Dad loses gambling. I don't believe you can't even do basic arithmetic." "Yep, on purpose." She looked up shocked. "What? Can't give the family any false hope," I said with a smile. "Otherwise, your only ticket out of here would get snatched away by them." She was silent for a long time before asking, "So what do you want to do when you grow up?" "Me? I thought about my last life delivering for DoorDash. Be a security guard, I guess. Skip the 30-year detour of trying to be something else. It's where I'd end up anyway." She blinked. "Then I'll study hard. And one day, I'll be a CEO and make you the head of security at my company." "Deal." After that, she studied even harder. 5. By the time I got to middle school, Chloe was really starting to blossom. The local teenage guys started hanging around the path she took to and from school. At first, it was just looks. Then came the catcalls. And then they started blocking her way. I had dedicated myself to being my sister's security detail, so I made it my job to walk her to and from school. And sure enough, on the way home from school, someone grabbed my shirt from behind. "Muggin'," a voice growled. I spun around and slapped him across the face. "Huggin'? Who wants a hug?" "My name's Leo." The guy was stunned, holding his cheek. "And no, a mugging," he stammered. I slapped him again. "A loving? My sister's only 13. You calling her loving? You blind? She's basically Columbus's own Scarlett Johansson." The guy looked like he was about to cry. "Robber. I'm a robber, you get it?" I finally understood, but I followed it up with a flying kick. "Jogger? I weigh 100 pounds. Why would I need to be a jogger?" He fell to the ground, sobbing into his hands. "I just wanted to rob someone. Is that so much to ask?" The moment he went down, 3 other guys emerged from a small patch of woods. I recognized the leader, a guy named Spike. He was a couple of grades above me, a well-known punk around town. He had 2 cronies with him, one fat, one skinny, both with "I'm a delinquent" written all over their faces. Well, if it isn't Chloe Grant," Spike said, blocking our path, his eyes raking over my sister. "Getting prettier every day." Chloe shrank back, hiding behind me. I wasn't scared. A fight isn't about size or age. It's about who's crazier, who's willing to hit harder. Spike finally noticed me. "Who the hell are you?" "Get lost." I just stared at him. He took a step forward, reaching out to shove me aside. I grabbed his wrist, twisted it down, and brought my knee up. Hard. A direct hit. Spike let out a strangled scream and doubled over, clutching his crotch. His 2 friends froze, not sure what had just happened. I walked over and kicked each of them in the shins, sending them to the ground. All 3 were on the dirt, groaning in pain. I crouched in front of Spike, patting his cheek. "You know who she is?" He was in too much pain to speak, just whimpering. "She's my sister, my sidekick, the person who does my homework, my future meal ticket," I said slowly. "You think you can mess with her without asking me first?" He shook his head frantically. "Remember this. From now on, when you see her, you cross the street. If I ever see you guys lurking around her again, I'll break all 3 of your legs." With that, I stood up and pulled my sister away. We walked about 50 feet before she tugged on my sleeve. "What's up?" She was looking at the ground, the tips of her ears bright red. "That was thank you, Leo." "For what?" "You're my sister, my sidekick. If I don't protect you, who will?" She looked up at me, her eyes shining. "Leo, I'm going to study really hard, so you can have that easy security guard job." I laughed. "Sound good, but let's be clear. By then, I expect to be managing at least 10, maybe 20 other guards. That's the kind of clout that fits my reputation. So you better study your ass off and build a huge company." She stared for a second, then broke into a small, determined smile. "Got it. 6. When I was in middle school, my sister was in high school. Luckily, we were at the same school. Chloe got in on her own merit. I got in because my parents paid a hefty donation to the school. It was my demand, of course. A security guard has to stick close to his client. Middle school was a lot more interesting than elementary. It was a county school, so you got all kinds of kids from all over. In the first month of school, some upperclassmen started trying to shake us down for protection money. We were cornered during lunch. The leader was a guy with long hair and a cigarette dangling from his lips, wearing an expression that screamed, "I'm a big shot." He had 4 or 5 big guys with him, all of them looking like they were on the football team. "You're new? Long hair, sized us up. Paid your protection fee yet?" Chloe instinctively grabbed my sleeve. I patted her hand and stepped forward. "How much?" Long hair grinned. "Straight to business. $5 each. That buys you a month of peace and quiet." $5. I looked at his crew. "How many of you are there?" "6 of us," he said, flicking his cigarette ash proudly. "What, you think that's too much? It's a fair price, lowest in the county. You pay up, and we'll make sure nobody in this school." Before he could finish, I kicked him square in the stomach. He flew backward, crashing into his friends, and they all went down in a heap. I walked over and planted my foot on his chest. "Protection money?" I looked down at him. "Do you know who I am?" His face went pale. He tried to struggle, but I held him pinned. "I'm Leo Grant from a middle school," I said, bending down to pat his cheek. "Never heard of me." His eyes went wide with terror. "Well, let me introduce myself," I said, taking my foot off him. "My name is Leo Grant. This is my sister, Chloe. We're both number 1 in this school. She's number 1 in academics, and I'm number 1 at fighting. You mess with me? I'll end you." Long hair scrambled to his feet, clutching his stomach, and ran off with his crew, shouting over his shoulder, "You're gonna regret this." Chloe stood beside me, pale as a ghost. "You scared?" I patted her shoulder. "Don't worry. Guys like they're all talk. They prey on the weak. You hit them once, and they'll leave you alone." She shook her head. "I'm not scared, it's just..." "Just what?" She looked up at me, her eyes a little red. "You always do this for me. I don't know how I can ever repay you." I grinned. "Repay me? I already told you. You study hard, make a lot of money, and I'll just be a professional mooch. Off my sister, of course." She blinked. "That's your ambition?" "Yeah. Why work hard when you can live the easy life?" I slung my arm around her shoulder as we walked away. "You do the hard work. I'll handle the relaxing." She looked down and said quietly, "But when I make it big, I want to make you a boss. Being a boss is stressful." "No thanks." I waved my hand dismissively. "Don't do me any favors." She went quiet, but I saw her clench her fists. Watching my main character sister get this motivated, I felt my path to a life of leisure getting smoother and smoother. Sticking with the female lead in one of these stories is a guaranteed ticket to success. It's not like those male-led stories where all his sidekicks end up dead or maimed. 7. When I was a freshman in high school, and Chloe was a senior, something big happened at home. My dad met some guy who told him about a factory owner in town. The owner was rich, but apparently he was ugly as sin and was looking for a wife. The offer, $100,000. My dad was tempted. That night, he called me and Chloe into the living room. He was rubbing his hands together nervously. "So, there's something I want to discuss with you too." I was lounging in a chair, my legs crossed. "Spit it out." He glanced at me, swallowed hard, then turned to Chloe. "Chloe, honey, you're 18 this year. It's time to start thinking about marriage. There's a business owner in town, a really great catch, and he wants to meet you." The color drained from Chloe's face. I slammed the bowl I was holding down on the table. "A business owner? What kind of business owner?" My dad quickly explained. "He owns a factory, has a car, a house. He's a great provider. You'd be set for life." This kind of talk never led anywhere good. I rolled my eyes. "Let me guess, he's some old guy, right? What does he look like?" He hesitated. "Well, his looks are a little, but for a man, looks aren't important. What matters is that he can make money." "A little what?" I stood up. "Bald? Potbelly? 50 years old?" My dad was cornered, stammering and unable to answer. My mom chimed in from the side. "Leo, don't be so hasty. Why not just meet him? What if your sister likes him? Marrying him would be a shortcut to an easy life." "She won't like him." I cut her off. "Just look at your faces. I bet the guy is hideous. Ugly, but probably sleeps around. A toad trying to get a taste of a princess." My dad got angry. "Why are you being so difficult? $100,000. That's enough to rebuild this whole house." "Rebuild the house?" I stared him down. "You're willing to sell my sister to renovate the house?" "It's not selling. It's marriage. A woman has to get married eventually. I strode over to him and grabbed him by the collar. Dad, do you remember what I told you years ago? His expression changed. I told you, if you ever try to pull a stunt like this with my sister, I'd make you regret it. His lips trembled. I am not pulling anything. I'm just introducing her to someone. I punched him in the face. Then maybe tomorrow I'll introduce you to someone. I'm sure there's a rich guy in the county who likes men. I can help you find a shortcut in life, too. He howled and crumpled to the floor, clutching his face. My mom screamed and lunged at me, but I shoved her away. What about you? Why don't you marry him? Grandma ran out from her room, saw the scene, and started her usual wailing. Oh, dear heavens, it's happening again. The son is hitting the father. Shut up, I said, pointing at her. One more peep out of you, and I'll send you to a retirement home myself. She immediately went silent. I looked down at my dad on the floor and grabbed the rolling pin from behind the door. He looked up, saw the rolling pin, and his face went white. Leo, I'm your father. Are you possessed by a demon or something? I swung the rolling pin down on his back. I'm not possessed, you are. I told you not to gamble, and you stopped. I thought you'd actually changed. I hit him again, but now you've moved on to selling your daughter? I'm not selling her. I'm thinking of you. If we don't fix up the house, how will you ever find a wife? Another swing. I have complete faith that my sister is going to make a ton of money. And when she's rich, I'll be rich. You think I won't be able to get a wife? Why are you worrying about my business? Another swing. Why don't you sell yourself? My dad was flat on the ground, covering his head, not daring to make a sound. My mom was kneeling beside him, sobbing. Leo, stop. You're going to kill him. He'd deserve it. I took a breath, planting the rolling pin on the floor. I'm telling you now, from this day on, Chloe decides who she marries. Anyone who tries to force her will have to go through me. My dad, still on the floor, nodded frantically. I turned to look at my sister. She was standing in the doorway, her eyes red, biting her lip and staring at me. I walked over and patted her shoulder. It's over. She threw her arms around me and started crying, huge, gasping sobs. I froze. In 2 lifetimes, I'd never been hugged by a girl like this. Chloe, that's enough. People are watching. She ignored me and kept crying. Great. Now I felt like I was about to have my own tough guy cries moment. Seeing the female lead cry in person, it hits you right in the heart. The power of a main character is terrifying. 8. Chloe got into the State University in Columbus. I didn't get in, but I went with her anyway, finding a security job nearby. Life was pretty good, earning my own money. Chloe would visit on weekends, bringing me food and helping me do my laundry and clean up my small apartment. I told her she didn't have to, but she said she was used to it. During the summer after her sophomore year, she suddenly told me a man was pursuing her. A man? I put down my popsicle. What kind of man? He owns a company. He's pretty young and not bad looking. She looked down, a faint blush on her cheeks. But he's a little weird. How is he weird? He's always sending me gifts, and he has people follow me. He says it's for my protection. I told him he doesn't need to, but he won't listen. Alarm bells started ringing in my head. This was exactly how the psycho CEO in the original story operated. First gifts, then stalking, then straight to the basement. What's his name? Damien Thorne. Of course. With a name like that, he had to be the male lead. A name like Leo Grant? Classic side character. I shot to my feet. My reaction startled her. What's wrong? Nothing. I took a deep breath. Take me to meet him tomorrow. I didn't sleep a wink that night. I kept trying to figure out how to tell her that I was from another world. That in the book this world was based on, she was supposed to be kidnapped by a psycho. That our whole family was supposed to be murdered by him. Would she think I was insane? But if I didn't tell her, how could I explain why I was about to go and beat the crap out of this Damien guy? 9. The next morning, I walked out with 2 dark circles under my eyes. Chloe was already waiting for me downstairs. She stared at me. Did you go out robbing banks last night? Chloe. I looked at her seriously. I need to tell you something. She studied my face for a moment, then nodded. Okay, let's walk and talk. The morning streets were quiet as we walked side by side. I opened my mouth to speak several times, but I didn't know where to begin. In the end, she spoke first. Now, yeah, you've been hiding something from me this whole time, haven't you? I froze. She kept her eyes on the road ahead. I always thought something was strange, she said, her voice calm. Before you were 10, you were just like any other bratty kid. Your favorite pastime was making my life miserable. You never would have stood up for me. I stayed silent. But when you turned 10, you suddenly changed. She turned to look at me. That day you hit Dad with the rolling pin, I was by the spigot. You looked back at me. In that one look, I knew you weren't the old Leo anymore. I stopped walking. She stopped too, turned to face me. The old Leo would never have protected me, she said. The old Leo would have joined Mom and Dad in calling me a freeloader. The old Leo, when he got picked on, would have come home and taken it out on me. But you didn't. You fought with Mom and Dad. You put Grandma in her place. You beat up bullies for me. You always told me to study hard while you would just be a security guard. I knew you had a reason, but I didn't care. Her eyes were a little red, but she wasn't crying. So I just want to say, no matter who you are, you're my brother. I just stood there, speechless. She walked over and patted my shoulder. So tell me, what have you been hiding? What's the real story with this Damien Thorn? I took a deep breath, and I told her everything. The reincarnation, the original novel, the dark romance, the imprisonment, the psycho CEO, the family massacre. When I was done, she was silent for a very long time. So long that I started to get scared. I was afraid she wouldn't believe me, that she'd think I was crazy, that the way she looked at me would change forever. Then she smiled. That's it. You still here. What? That's the big secret you've been keeping from me all these years? She shook her head. I thought it was something serious. I was floored. Chloe, you're not scared? Scared of what? The book. You're the main character. You're supposed to be locked up by a psycho. She looked at me with a strange expression. Leo, let me ask you a question. Yeah. If a novel has a main character, who's really in charge of the story? I thought for a moment. The author? She shook her head. The main character herself. I was stunned. I've watched you fight your way through all these years, and I guess I learned a thing or two about taking control, she said with a small smile. If I'm the main character of this book, then my life is my own. I get to choose who the male lead is. And if I don't choose him, she paused, and a look I'd never seen before flashed in her eyes. Then he's just some random guy. I stood there, my mind completely blown. Chloe patted my cheek. Come on, let's skip the meeting and go get some Korean barbecue. I got my scholarship money. I want to treat you to something good. I was in a daze. We finished a mountain of food, and I still hadn't processed my sister's logic. Chloe patted my shoulder. What are you spacing out for? Chloe. I looked at her. You're really not scared? Of being kidnapped, of... She smiled. Nope. Like you said, I'm the female lead. The authors of these kinds of stories are always on the woman's side. If I decide I want nothing to do with him, the storyline will change. Just you watch. I'm still a little worried. Don't be. She looped her arm through mine as we walked. Leo, I'm a grown-up now. It's time I started acting like the big sister. From now on, I'll protect you. I swear, I won't let any of that stuff you talked about happen. I looked at her profile, suddenly feeling a sense of whiplash. When did the timid little girl who used to hide behind me grow into this person? After that day, Damien Thorn never showed up again. We heard his company ran into some trouble, and he was too busy to deal with anything else. Then we heard he'd found a new girl to obsess over. Whatever happened, it had nothing to do with us. It was just like Chloe said. She was the main character. She chose the male lead. 10. After graduation, Chloe got a job at a big corporation in Chicago. She started at the bottom and worked her way up, step by step. 5 years later, she was a vice president. And me, I was still a security guard. One day, she showed up at my studio apartment, loaded down with groceries. So, when are you coming to work at my company? She asked as she walked in. Doing what? Head of security. She slapped a business card down in front of me. I created the position just for you. Salary is $200,000 a year, full benefits, plus bonuses and stock options. I looked at the card. It said, Director of Corporate Security. Director? I laughed. I'm just a security guard. How can I be a director? You're my brother. She looked at me, her eyes shining. I'm a VP. What's wrong with my brother being a director? I scratched my head. Isn't that a little obvious? Who cares? She pushed the card into my hand. You ever hear the saying, when one person gets rich, their whole family gets a free ride? I've already figured out what my future kids are going to do for a living. I looked down at the business card, and suddenly, all these memories came flooding back. In elementary school, she did my homework. In middle school, I beat up bullies for her. In high school, I saved her from that arranged marriage. In college, she graduated, became a VP, and came back to make me a director. In my last life, I wore the Grubhub uniform. This time, I guess I'm finally moving up in the world. I looked up at her. She was standing by the window, the sunlight catching in her hair. She was 30 now, but in her face, I could still see the shadow of that skinny little girl. Chloe. Yeah. Thanks. She smiled. For what? You're my brother. If I don't have your back, who will? I paused for a second, then laughed. That sounded familiar. I think I said the same thing to her more than a decade ago. 11. So I became the director of corporate security at her company. My daily routine consisted of sitting in my office, drinking coffee, reading the news, and occasionally taking a stroll to make sure the guards weren't slacking off. The pay was insane. I never made so much money in my life, and the bonuses were even better. Chloe would sometimes stop by my office to chat about work. Sometimes, in the middle of a conversation, she'd say, "Remember that time you beat up Dad?" I remember. I was so scared then. I thought you'd lost your mind. And now? Still scared? She'd smile and look out the window. Later, I was scared you were just a dream, that you'd disappear. I didn't say anything. She turned to look at me, her eyes a little misty. Now, yeah. Thank you. I wave it off. We're family. Don't be a stranger. She stood up and walked to the door, then turned back one last time. By the way, I'm getting married. I want you to be my man of honor. Man of honor? I blinked. Who's the groom? The CEO of our company, she said with a grin. And don't worry. This one's a real CEO, the kind and supportive type. None of that stuff you were worried about is going to happen. Congratulations, Chloe. I hope you'll be happy forever. After she left, I sat in my office, staring out at the sun. In my last life, I was a delivery driver, hustling in all kinds of weather, running dozens of orders a day, exhausted. In this life, I'm a security director, sipping coffee, soaking up the sun, and waiting to go home for dinner. It's pretty good. Just then my phone buzzed. It was a text from Chloe. Lunch tomorrow. Bring your rolling pin. I want to show the groom our family heirloom. I texted back one word, no. Then I tossed the phone on the desk and went back to enjoying the sun. Outside, I could hear birds chirping, smell the flowers from the courtyard, and the steady footsteps of the guards on patrol. I closed my eyes and couldn't help but smile. Last life, a delivery